So here we go. Okay. Hopefully we get a little more than 13 people on today. This is a lot different than Monday morning. I had more people on Monday morning than I did this morning, which is kind of funny. So welcome back. I hope you guys had an awesome week. Steve and I were here with you on Monday. For those of you who weren't not there on Monday, my name is Maggie McDowell. I am the MCTT and ATL for the Boston Southwest office, as well as the Easton office, just the MCTT for the Easton office. And I am here to help bring you Ignite. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Colleen. Colleen, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Colleen. I'm a new team leader, and but I've been with Keller Williams since 2004. So I not only drank the Kool-Aid, but I drank the whole quart.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Colleen is awesome. She is an awesome business, and I'm so happy to have her as my TL here in the Boston Southwest office. And I'm happy to have her here with me today. Steve is here as the MCTT. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Steve DeAngelis. I'm from Keller Williams Coastal in Rhode Island. I'm the MCTT for the state. And this is the third round with Maggie on this session. We did last Friday, we did Monday, and now we're back here today.
We're like the fearsome duo. I think we're trouble too. Same time, for sure. We're together. And then last but not least, my chat moderator is Derek. Derek, would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Derek Papagno. I am Maggie's assistant team leader counterpart, the ATL for the Easton office, and I'm here to moderate the chat. So don't hold back, guys. I'll be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there isn't very many people here right now. I'm guessing that they're all going to start popping on later. Maybe they all forgot that today is still an Ignite day. But I would love participation. The name of the game, Ignite, goes really slow if you guys don't help me out and participate. I want to hear from you and what you're doing. I'd love to see your shining faces this morning. So if you can, please turn on your cameras so that I can see you today, if you can. And I'd love, like I said, participation is the name of the game. I'd love to see if you guys can use the reactions. In fact, if you guys want to practice your reactions right now, I'd love to see something in the reaction section from all of you. High five, a heart, or whatever you want, just throw one in there. All right, we got a bunch of thumbs up. Let's see how everybody's feeling today on the moods. Lots of thumbs up.
Can we see your beautiful faces?
Oh, I like the pumpkin. Where did you get that from? That's cool. Excellent. Well, now that I know that, it's all over the Zoom world. That's excellent. Thank you, Ellen. Yes, and please use the chat. Derek is there to answer your questions. You can raise your hand. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm excited to bring you today's section, which is keep every lead, which is extremely important. And yeah, any questions? Awesome, let's go. Let
me just throw one comment out first.
Sure.
Listen, guys, the only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Good point.
The worst thing that can happen is you walk out of this, you leave this class with an unanswered question. And don't worry, if you have that question, at least 3 or 4 other people have it, so you're doing them a favor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let me share my screen. All right, let me see some reactions. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. I got some thumbs up. All right. Okay. So today is the first day of lead follow-up, which is the 3rd segment of Ignite. So you guys have already kind of gone over your value proposition, and you've covered generating leads. But today our focus now switches to lead follow-up. which is awesome. You know, generating a lead can take anywhere from no time at all to a lot of times. But keeping that lead in your grasp is extremely important because it can take a long time to convert that lead. Colleen, what was the longest you've ever had to convert a lead? Do you know?
I do actually. A woman walked into a real estate office in 2002. I have been through a divorce with her, then a death of her ex-husband with her, and we're going to be listing her house in the next month.
No kidding. That's a long nurture.
You think?
Yep. That's a long nurture. So it can take up to 10 years or more to convert someone. So keeping in touch with them, lead follow-up is extremely important. So this next segment at night is going to help you turn possible business into a probable business, and then probable business into profitable business. Okay. We're going to engage in the systems that we learned about previous as well. So we're over here in that third section, lead follow-up, right? We're going to go over, you know, during this time, we're going to keep every lead. You're also going to do follow-up leads, strengthen relationships, and qualify potential buyers and sellers. But today we're just focusing on number 10 here. In the agenda today, we're going to talk about what lead follow-up actually is. We're going to talk about how to actually follow up with those leads, how to post lead follow-up. We're going to recap what we learned, and then we're going to go through our daily success systems. So that is on the agenda today. So by the end of today, you're going to be able to describe the benefits of establishing a system of lead follow-up. You're going to be able to apply the 19 to connect touch campaign with leads. And we're going to explain the importance of cementing the relationship with their leads. All right. So I want you to take a second, all of you on the call today. I want you to start thinking about what you're going to learn today. And I want you to take a minute to write down any questions that you might have about lead follow-up right now. What are your questions? What are you wondering about? What are you thinking about? Write that down right now. Just take a second to write down a piece of paper. By the way, does everybody have the participant guide for today? I don't hear anything otherwise, but Derek, if you wouldn't mind throwing that in the chat, the participant guide, thank you. Just in case you don't have it. All right. So I'd love to hear from you guys right now. What kind of questions do you have right now about lead follow-up?
Participation. We're here for you.
Nobody has any questions? Anything you've been wondering about, thinking about?
Okay, hey, I'll start. David White here. Good morning.
Great. Good morning.
And I'll get myself on video here quick. Wait, where am I? I'm trying this on my phone for right now. Hey. Can you see me? Good morning. So it's one of those things like the dating thing. Like I just met the person. Like, do I call him like tonight? Wait, should I wait tomorrow? Does it seem like I'm over eager? Like that type of thing. And also I understand command can help with hey, it's their birthday. Hey, it's the time to call up. Like you can program things in. Some things are automatic. I just don't know how to do it yet. But I started the 66-day thing. So hoping I'll get all that down.
Awesome. The 66-day challenge is great for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, the dating game, the wondering, and I get that a lot. The people always wonder if they're over communicating. Right? And what ends up happening is that you end up under communicating. And it's not so much about when you do it, it's more about how you do it. And if it's important, what kind of things you're doing, right? Are you just calling up to do care calls? Are you calling up to just ask for real estate business? How are you following up with them matters. And that's very important. So we're going to talk about, especially today, the frequency in which you should be following up, and what type of touches you should be doing as well.
And I love that analogy, Dave, because one of the notes I wrote down that I wanted to share is we all have dated, or most of us have dated before in our life. And it's like you ask for the date, you talk about dating, and then you never call them again. So that's how you think about lead follow-up, is we need to talk to them again.
We do. It's so funny how it ends up being, you know, we always say that our clients ghost us, but a lot of the times it's really us who are ghosting our clients. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that.
And what also is very critical is, how did you get that lead? If that's a lead you got from an open house, call them immediately. They want to buy a house now.
Yep.
Everyone else, I'd say within 6 hours, contact them.
Yep. I would say that's a pretty good. Where the lead is coming from too is also going to determine how often and when you follow up with them and who you're following up with. Ellen, you have your hand raised.
Yep. So I guess it's more like intentional dating, if we're going to use the dating theme, intentional contact. So if I'm going to make contact with someone, my intent is to speak with them and see them again, and, you know, or stay in contact. So if we use the intentional dating, I'm over 40, I'm not just looking for friends. I have friends.
Yep. Friends with different kinds of benefits, I guess. All right. So we're going to start off with the what is lead follow-up. So can someone remind me, what do we define a lead as?
Lead is potential.
Potential. Yeah, I mean, absolutely potential. Have we or have we not met with them? If we're talking about a lead, how do we define it?
Possibly, we may have.
We may have so a lead is a person who has shown interest in the service that we provide, right? We have their contact information. We have yet to really engage in a two-way conversation, right? That is what a lead is, right? And the goal of lead follow-up is to actually follow up with that lead, to convert it from a lead to somebody we have actually met, to enter that two-way conversation. Does lead follow-up only apply to a lead?
No.
Nope. It should apply to every person in our database, right? Whether a lead is a contact, or whether it's a lead or a contact, it requires some sort of follow-up so that when they get to their real estate need, they immediately think of you, right? So, I mean, consider this, right? All the people that you put in your database, are they only in your database? Do you think that they're only in yours?
No.
No, probably not, right? Are you the only real estate agent they know?
They better.
We wish.
Scott, the team leader in Easton, or now the OP in Easton, he used to say there's like two things in life that you always know, like that you know, death is a consistency in life, and that everybody has a brother or a sister who's in real estate. Like there's always a relative in real estate, right? Everybody knows at least one or two realtors, right? So you are definitely not the only real estate agent that they know, right? Think about how many other real estate databases that people in your database are in. So how do you ensure that when they think of real estate, they think of you?
I would say value.
Absolutely. Value is huge, right? It's one of the things that we talked about earlier, but what kind of value we provide, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more today. And value is huge, and the consistency in which we communicate, right? If we, as Colleen said, disappear, right? If we're the ones who go to them when it comes time, if the other agent is the one consistently reaching out, then you're gonna miss out, right? Because the other person's been the one contacting them.
Quick
Steve,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I actually contacted this prospect yesterday, and I asked her, I'm like, are you working with someone? And she's like, yeah, I'm working with an agent, and she signed and everything. So what do you say when you end up finding someone like that? Do you just say, oh, okay, well, thank you for for talking to me, I'll talk to you later? Or like, where do you go from there? Like, they're signed with an agent. I guess I could try to steal her from the other agent, but
Nope.
right? I mean, what are my options? Because she's already working with the other agent. She has a relationship with her. As a matter of fact, she was speaking very highly of her, that she liked her. She's very sweet. So I'm kind of like, the point while I'm talking to her, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, give me your information and I'll see what I can do. I kind of just left it like hanging. So, but I'm not sure what what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to let her be with her agent, right? Those are my options.
I'll take this. if
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
Okay. So, as soon as someone says they're under contract with another agent, right? If we're a realtor, we have to respect that. So one of the things that you can say, okay, that's great. So do you know anyone else that's looking to buy or sell real estate that I can call today? And believe it or not, sometimes people will actually give you business. And then you could say, I really liked you, and if for whatever reason, if it doesn't work out with your agent, just know that I'm here and I'd love to be your plan B. Or, that agent is great. And if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, just know that I'm here for you. Like, just come from contribution, we never try to steal clients from another realtor, because karma can show up in our lives and we've always wanted to be good karma. Does
Right.
that help?
So I was kind of like I said, I wasn't, trying to steal her or whatever. I just I was like, I don't know what to do at that point, where she's like, I'm working with another agent. So I was like, well, let me have your information. And I asked her what the agent's name is. And she kind of got a little like, why do you need to call her? Cause like she's going to know I'm cheating on her type of thing. So I kind of left it as that. I'm like, okay, well, just give me your email. If I find anything, maybe I can give it to you, and then you could give it to her. It came to that point where I was like, I'll look to see if there's anything that fits your criteria, and then I'll send it to you, and you could send it to your agent. And I got her email, so I was kind of not sure what to leave it at. Like, I didn't want to be like, okay, well, see you, bye, click.
Whitley, how did you meet this? How did you get this person's information?
Cold calling.
Okay, the best thing to do is just say, well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck.
Right.
If you met them at an open house and they didn't tell you at the open house they were working with an agent, they just say, well, hey, it was great meeting you. If you have any questions whatsoever, have your agent call me. Because you don't, although we always say there are too many agents out in the street, you don't want to be that one agent that, she's trying to poach my client and giving you a bad name.
Right.
So just thank them for their time, move on.
Okay.
Well, one other thing I would just like to add from Keller Williams' perspective is, when they speak highly of an agent, great. I'm looking for more great agents to join.
Good idea.
Okay, I like the idea of contribution, because I wasn't sure where to go. It was more like I was kind of stuck, and I really just want to be like, okay, bye. But
Bye.
right? But I didn't want to come across like I'm only here for your business. I wanted to make her feel like I actually cared. That's why I'm reaching out. And so I spent the time and talked to her and got her information, and I don't know, obviously I'm not going to follow up, but maybe I'll take your advice and call her to follow up and just be like, oh, just so you know, I'm here if anything. I didn't find anything within your criteria, but if anything comes up, or you have somebody that's looking, please keep me in mind, to that point where I'm still keeping the line of communication, but not trying to take that other agent's business away from them. So I might do that, because then I don't want to just like, sorry, bye. That's what I felt like at the conversation. So anyway, thank you.
What
Well-
about if I think well, maybe you guys can correct me, but I think when someone is working with someone, it's because they sign a contract saying that I'm working with that particular agent, and now legally they are their agent. But otherwise, I think it's fair game, I guess.
So yeah, if there's a contract, we cannot cross the contract, right? That we're not gonna, that's ethically not right, right? We cannot do that, nor would we want someone that doing that to us. I mean, there's plenty of times when you're gonna call your database and they're gonna say, oh, I already do have a real estate agent. And Clay and I sort of alluded to this, but a really great script is like, oh, I'm so glad you found someone that really is really working for you. I'd love to be your first, second choice should they not be available for some reason, or you're in my neck of the woods or anything like that. And I'll still keep in touch and I'll give you all this, I'll make sure that I make sure that you're doing okay and you get access to my vendor list or whatever else, right? You can still be that person for them. If they're currently working in a contract, kind of like how this is here, we always have to just like, I'm glad that you're doing great with that agent. If you know anybody who might need something, because I'm here to help if should anything come up, right? Those kind of things. Okay. Right.
I always ask if they're under contract, even in an open house. Well, are you under?
Oh yeah. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. So has anybody seen this graph before? This chart in particular? Now, this is a big one around us. This is sort of the sort of a graph of what happens with somebody who's a lead, right? So if someone just moved, right, they're right up here at the top of the graph, and they could be anywhere along this line between moves, right? Because people move on average somewhere between 7 and 10 years, depending on their life circumstances. Usually in their lifetime, the average is about like around 3 house moves. So there's usually some distance between the top and the bottom. If I gave you a lead close to the top of the wave up here, what would you perceive that quality of lead to be?
I would say that it's a high or a hot lead.
Yep. That, I mean, most people are gonna say like, yep, this is pretty high quality, right? This person is gonna be quick. We want to make sure that we want to get going right away. If I gave you a lead close right after the move, what do you think?
It's going to be on my contact list.
Yeah. A lot of people perceive like if I gave you a lead like right after the move, you'd be like, well, that's a bad lead. Right? What's the point? What's this point, right? But the thing that we're trying to get you to think about here is that there really are no bad leads, right? They're just nothing's quick. It's not going to be quick to close if I give you one right here, obviously. But there's no such thing as a bad lead. The lead might not be hot right now, but they are future potential for our database. And it's how we follow up with them matters, so that then when they get here, they start thinking of us. David, your hand's up.
Maybe at that point, they've been talking about real estate for the last, 60 to 90 days. And so therefore, everybody that they know has been also hearing it from them. And so there's a great referral opportunity, not them purchasing.
Yep, there's that too. Absolutely. Every person is worth more than just their own business. Right? We always have to remember that. As a real estate agent, following up with all leads with frequency and intensity is the key to remaining in proximity with the leads. So as any lead approaches the top of the wave and are ready to purchase, they think of us, right? This is where the importance of and the value of lead follow-up comes into play, right? So we want to remember that. Think of the leads in your database through lead generation as your possible business. Lead follow-up helps turn leads into possible business, into probable business, into profitable business. In 2021, NAR profiled the profile of home buyers and sellers. We conducted research on what shows that when selecting an agent, 73% of buyers and 82% of sellers only contacted one agent. Just one. So where are we on that list with people? If we already kind of talked about, if those people are on like 3 or 4 other people's lists, are we high up on it? Are we not so high on the list? Because if you're only contacting one, we have to be at the top. So the question is, what are you going to do to ensure that you are the one every single time, which is what we're going to talk about today. Does someone like to read the quote for me?
Sure. If you aren't first or second in their mind, you probably won't get the business.
Yep, this is very true. This is from the MREA book, that red book we talk about all the time. Thinking back to the day you learned about lead generation, what touches do you guys think are the strongest when it comes to relationship building?
Good question.
Calling, talking to them.
Yes, the personal interaction, right? That is your strongest. What do you think the weakest ones are?
Email. Or not contacting them at all.
I would not contact them at all. I think that absolutely. For sure. I would definitely say probably email. Colleen, you think like email, postcard would probably be your weakest, you would think, for the touches?
Yes, because I think people are more responsive to text nowadays than they were, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And text, especially in people that are younger than 30 years old, are really, I've called relatives, young relatives, and they don't call me back. If I text them, they text me back almost immediately.
Yep. Anything that gives you sort of that two-way conversation, right? An email, most of the time when we send email, that's usually just like a one-off thing that we're trying to give information, or a postcard. There's definitely no two-way conversation in that. Something that's going to give you two-way conversation is much higher on the list, right? Some sort of personal, but personal is always going to be your best. And the mix of all of it together is what really makes lead generation sing, right? You have to have all of it going on through an entire space, through multiple touches throughout the year, which we're going to dive into in a little bit. It really comes down to all of it. But if you're going to only do one, then pick up the phone. If you're only going to call them, then call them. It really makes a difference. So let's hear any ahas from anything that we just covered in the very beginning about what is lead follow-up.
Well, the aha is that it's important and that it should be done with everyone. So aha.
Aha, yes, excellent. Anyone else? David?
If you don't call them back, somebody else will.
Somebody else will. Yep. I remember one of the things that really struck me once is I was in a class. I was in coaching skills camp, actually, and we were trying to talk about how important it is to reach out and touch people, and how a lot of people have the fear of actually doing that, right? Picking up the phone or meeting someone, right? And we kind of boil it down to that somebody else will, right? And I said, like, hey, if you look at this person in your family, right? Let's just say I actually have people in my office who are actually don't like to call their own family members, which is very interesting. But I tell them, like, look, would you be upset and feel bad if you know that you could have helped, this person, whoever it is, and you knew you were going to do the best job for them, that you were going to go above and beyond for that person, give them the 10+ experience, right? but because you didn't reach out, somebody else got them and they did a terrible job. They were a terrible agent for them. Would that make you feel bad? Right? So if someone else, if it's going to happen anyway, right? If that person was going to use someone anyway, why not have it be you, right? Have you be the person so you're the one who can help them. So that was one of it was a big aha for me. When I heard that look, it's gonna happen anyway. They're gonna buy a house, they're gonna sell their house, and it could be with somebody else who didn't do as good of a job as I could have done, and that would actually make me feel really guilty. So it's important. Ellen, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, and how does it look when your family member bought a house and their friends are like, oh, it's so nice, who'd you use? And they're like, isn't your sister a realtor? Like, why didn't you? I mean, because they will tell
interesting
people.
Thanksgivings.
They will tell people, all their friends know that they bought a house or they bought a condo, they had a party, and who do they talk about? This wonderful agent that got me this house, isn't it awesome? And then they're going to throw everybody in the party, but it's not going to be you.
Excellent.
One thing I just want to add on that, we have to have that mindset that we are the best agent for the people that know us, like us, and trust us. And a mistake that a lot of agents make with family and friends is they think, oh, I got this. And you don't go through like pre-qualifying them and doing a full consultation with them and bringing them through the whole process like you would another seller or another buyer. So just make sure that we do act like true professionals, even if they're our sister or a friend. And then that way, you're coming from contribution, you're really showing your value as a realtor. And, and think about all the other realtors out there, right? Who is with a company like that's learning based, that delivers amazing training all the time, that's always teaching us to think bigger, to grow, and all of these things, right? So we're really doing people a disservice by not reaching out and coming from contribution. We're basically putting them in the hands of an agent that isn't as skilled, smart, or brilliant like everyone on this call.
Excellent. Steve, your hand's up.
Yeah, an aha that has been growing. This is oh God, it's going to be my 10th Ignite program. But what's really important is when you're doing follow-up with people, you cannot just do one thing. Back in the day, realtors would send out postcards, and you'd get those postcards out of your mailbox, and you'd throw them in the trash, and never look at them. Then everyone's just started sending emails. And so you get up in the morning, you open up your inbox, you go delete, 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 delete.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you mix it up, if you send them an email, if you send them a text, if you make that personal phone call, then they start to recognize your name. Oh, here's another email from Maggie. Let's see what she has to talk about today. They work well. No one works all by itself, but they work great in conjunction with each other.
Yep. So
when you're doing your follow-up, yes, send them an email. Don't stop. Give them a phone call. Send them a text. If you have to, go knock on their door. You want to just mix up the message delivery so the message is getting through.
Yeah, that's a great segue into the next section. But Melissa, you had your hand up.
You're muted, Melissa.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I was going to piggyback off of what Steve was saying is, 20 plus years ago when I started the sales game, it used to be 3 to 5 touches. And then it went from to 7 to 13 touches. And now it's over 30 some odd touches before people start relating your name with what you do. But then incorporating various mediums and switching it up, but remaining consistent is the key.
Yeah.
And so putting in tasks that you sent a postcard and then in 2 to 3 weeks or 30 days or 60 days, however you cycle it, sending something else, a handwritten note, a phone call, a text, an invite, something to kind of keep them constant in your database and fresh will, you know, keep that relationship building. And that is kind of part of the key, is remaining consistent and not just calling them once and say, oh, they never called me back, so I'm on to the next. It's really packing that pipeline, but being consistent with that pipeline, and then something will trickle out, and then then you ask them to buy a house. But yeah, that's a huge thing now. Is I think it was Tiffany who said that they forget who we are every 11 days. So we have to keep reminding them.
It's very true.
Yes.
Even our own family members, like they remember, I say this all the time. Remember, they look at us first as like the mother, the sister, the sibling, they look at us as that family member first, and not as that real estate agent. So we have to keep reminding them, right? You have to remind them, or they will forget. And they will do what Steve had mentioned before. They will buy and sell a house without you. So it's very important. And right. So just like your intention to be strategic with your lead generation efforts, you should also be strategic with your lead follow-up efforts. Right? It's super important. And we got to be thoughtful about how we follow up, and the leveraging, and how we're leveraging our highest value touches so that it yields the greatest results. That's going to help us convert the leads into a higher level. So if you go to your book and you go to the Fortune is in the Follow-Up Mindshare page, which is that's page 10.4 for those who are following along. Right, so this is mindshare is gained through positioning yourself in front of your leads frequently with relevant and timely information. The goal is to open the door to two-way communication, right? We want to make sure we're two-way communication. In addition to getting them to think about you anytime they think of real estate, right? And so this page kind of talks about the 19 to connect. So we talk about this a lot, right? So do you guys remember what the 19 to connect and the 36 to convert are? I'd love some volunteers. The 19 to connect, what do you guys remember about that one? Ellen, your hand's raised the old-fashioned way.
Okay, so the 19 to connect is 4 touches quarterly by phone, and then 12 touches monthly, email, newsletters, market report, videos like what you showed us that we can do in command. 2 touches promotional, direct mail, calendars, and then any like reports that they could look at. And then you have an annual event party, movie screening, something similar to that.
Yeah, wow, you remembered the numbers. That's pretty good. In terms of, yes, the 19 connects, all those things, it's to what it's for is to basically cement the lead into a contact, right? We're trying to move them from, hey, I just got a name and a number, or a name and an email address, and now I need to move them from here to actually into my database. And the 36 to convert is they're in my database, but now I got to convert them into actual business, right? So that's the difference between the two. So leads is 19 to connect, contacts is 36 to convert. So it's moving them down the funnel. If you guys remember the funnel that we went over before. So these are the recommendations systems for touch campaigns, and we're going to go through this so that you guys can build your own today, your own 19 to connect. That's our goal for today, to do that. So let's see. Oops. Yeah. Right, so actually, Ellen's going through this, but the 19 Connect is 4 phone calls, 12 touches that are a combination of monthly email, newsletter, market reports, videos, etc. 2 touches to relation to promotional direct mail, and the 1 touch that is a client event or a party. And they're intended to be spread out through the calendar year, right? So not 19 in a month, though it might need to be. If they're really close to buying, we need to convert them very quickly. But it is over a course of time. When do you guys think a lead should be added to your 19 to Connect campaign?
As soon as you meet them.
Immediately. Yes, thumbs up from around the house. Yes, exactly, right away, right? We can't, what do you think happens if you have someone's information and you don't connect with them for several weeks? What do you think happens?
They already forgot who you are.
They already forgot who you were, right? I always say people, there's a different set of numbers. I know KW is really big on these, like 19 Connect, 36. There's also an 8x8 campaign too. And the reason why they do it is because it takes 8 separate connections for someone to remember who you actually are. If I were to meet Colleen on the street one day and we had a really good conversation and I didn't connect with her for 8 weeks, and then someone asks her, hey, who's Maggie? And who's this Maggie person? She'd be like, I don't remember. I think she was the short girl who was really kind of weird. Like, I don't remember. I think she was in real estate, right? She's not gonna remember who I am. But if I had connected with her and then followed up with a card that says, hey, it was great to meet you, right? I'm gonna send you some things. And I followed up with that saying, hey, did you get my card? And then I send her some more things. And I do that for 8 weeks straight. Do you think at the end of those 8 weeks, you think when someone asked you who I was, she would remember me? Right? You have to be in contact for them to remember who you are. So we want to do that sort of immediately. You have to think about how quickly people move on. Let's just say it's a social post or something, like they've already gone, like somewhere else. They have gone somewhere else. They've engaged and they're engaging with someone else at that particular point. Okay, so you guys on the next page on your book, in your booklets, is lead fall best practices. So you're going to be using this page to do some brainstorming. So I want you to take 10 minutes right now to actually fill this out. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Hold on a second. Stop the share. Actually, is it the same questions on the thing? Never mind. It's the same questions on the slide.
And just a reminder while she's doing that, please put your cameras on and please participate. You're going to get way more out of this session if you contribute, if you talk, if you brainstorm. If you just sit back and don't really pay attention and check your email, really, you're not going to get anything out of it. So be here with us.
So I want you to take the next 10 minutes to answer these questions. Write down the answers for yourself. We're going to discuss that. So we're going to, I'm going to give you some minutes to do this. When you are done, I want you to raise your hand with the digitally or some sort of, raise your hand because that's permanent, so that I know that you're done. So take that time right now to go ahead and fill this out and answer these questions. What are my strengths when working with people? How can I adapt the touches to connect, 19 touches to connect to represent me? What are some reasons I might have for contacting the lead? What are some touches to do before and after a phone call? How am I using conversations to let the person know I'm in real estate? And how do they contact me and how to refer business to me? when is it best for me and my business to time block for lead follow-up, and how much time should it take to reach out to a lead? What will I do to hold myself accountable to make sure that this happens? So I want you guys to fill this out right now. So take a piece of paper, fill it out. And then we'll connect right after you're done, and we will make sure that I want to hear some of your responses. So do that now. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. And remember, when you think you're ready, just put your hand up. Your digital hand. All right. Couple more minutes. Okay. One more minute here. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you're finishing up, you can finish up, but I'd love to hear from you. Would someone like to share the answer they had for number one? What are my strengths in working with people, and how can I adapt to touches of 19 to represent me?
I'm relatively easy to talk to.
Cool.
Forward, outgoing. I can be confident when I am knowledgeable about certain things, and maybe a way to get people to connect with me would be to have knowledge about mortgages and have people to connect with them.
Okay, excellent. Usually you're basically using your sort of connectivity and your social skills to really help you out with your 19. Excellent. All right. Someone else want to share what they had for the first question?
Yeah, knowledge. My knowledge in real estate. I've been in the business for 30 years. And I have a very strong background in finances. So putting a deal together is something that most people understand that I know about. So it's easy for me to solve their problems. The other is how can I adapt and touch 19 times? I said to put them in command and put them in a program where it reminds me to get back to them and follow up with them.
Excellent. So maybe adapting your touches to your strengths with the market reports and your knowledge. Absolutely. All right. Okay. What are someone want to answer what they put down for what are some reasons I might have for contacting the lead? What are some touches to do before and after a phone call? Melissa, is your hand raised? Melissa, is your hand raised? You're on mute.
Sorry, I keep trying to look for the hand button and all this other stuff. So what are some reasons I might have for contact? Is that the second one?
Yes.
So obviously depends on where I got them from, but if it is from an open house, obviously if they don't have a buyer's agent, I'd like to maybe do a presentation or maybe get to know more about what they're looking for. Maybe want to send them some open houses for the following weekend, just to let them know that I'm looking out for them, and then see if that is an incentive enough for them to want to sign, a contract with me. So obviously the reasons for contacting the lead may be different based on how I met them or where I met them. So I do try to categorize that, but eventually if they are part of my database for long enough, then they'll kind of be streamlined into my normal everyday stuff. That would be, how's the market doing in the area? This is the neighborhood that you're interested in. Here's some stats in that area. And just letting them know what I'm doing, or if I'm out and about, if they want to meet up for coffee. Hey, I'm going to be showing some houses in your area. Did you want to get together for a quick cup of coffee? So again, and then like, not necessarily touches before a phone call specifically, but for any contact, I use command and I put in a note that I met them for coffee, or at least invited them to coffee, or that I sent them a handwritten note in the mail. So I use command to set tasks and reminders as well, or
Awesome.
notes and tasks.
Yep. Okay, I like it. I like that a lot. I love the handwritten notes. Those are great. Those are really great. David.
Yeah, it sort of combines the first one with a, oh wait, lost my notes. Hold, stand by. All right, sorry. So the idea of what do I bring, sort of a sense of humor. When I say sort of, like a sense of humor, being empathetic and creative, and a reason to contact people would be whatever, the celebrations, like that social media type stuff, birthdays and all that. Or I found some information that they would find interesting, maybe a listing or some market news, and I want to provide that, being of value and potentially entertaining. So I haven't like worked that part out, and again, not too much on the entertain, but so that people would want to open things up or watch a video if I send quick videos, that kind of thing.
Videos is actually a really great way to sort of make a different touch, right? Putting videos in emails, or just it's almost like trying to have that personal touch without having the personal touch in a way. I think it's almost a little more personal. I've seen a lot of people do that. That's why companies like Boomtown and Bomb do really well, is because they focus a lot on video. Yep. Derek, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, we've got an answer in the chat from Jean Armstrong. She says to check in, see if they need anything or if they have any questions. So coming from contribution.
Yep, excellent. And Colleen?
Yeah, so I would say that the second question is what holds the most people back from doing their follow-up. And so some of the things that I wrote down, be creative. So like say they give you like 3 towns, a buyer. They give you 3 towns that they're interested in. Go to like the town website, see if like they have concerts in the park, see if they're having parades, see like what they're doing. And that's also a great touch even for sellers. Like if that, you know, that they want to move, you know, somewhere, or, you know, so like really pay attention to what people say. What are their interests? Like, do they have small children? Like, is a traveling zoo coming to, you know, town or nearby? And that can be like a touch, but I would say take like really, really specific notes. So if they're like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta take my daughter or son to gymnastics, right? You know, son in gymnastics, tag that. And when you do your follow-up, oh, how did you know, your child do at gymnastics last Saturday, or whenever it is that you talk to them? And, you know, be like a detective, ask great questions, but really fill out like the information so you can find things, not just, you know, nowadays when we send like listings and we send market reports, not the market reports, but the listings, everybody can find them. You know, they're readily available. So try to like really personalize it to them specifically in the areas that they want to be, like fun things to do in the town of wherever. That's it.
I like it. Being very specific, getting people where they're at, the connections that matter to them more than would matter to anybody else, right? Those sort of the one-to-ones and the one-to-many. All right. Number 3, how am I using conversations to let the person know I am in real estate, how to contact me, and how to refer business to me? Ellen, your hand's up.
Thank you. So I agree also with Colleen. That was very similar to what I wrote down for number 2. Before I call them, kind of look at social media. If I have them on social media, maybe that lady became because they liked some content that I had. So seeing what their interest was prior to the call, and that gives us something to kind of talk about. But the answer for number 3, how am I using conversations to let the person know I am in real estate, how to contact me, and how to refer business to me? Catching up with life and family using the Ford method, letting them know, you know, how I'm doing. Once I've asked them, hey, how are things going? How's the family? Are you still working at, you know, such and such? I used to work with Chaffo, so how's it going? And then when, of course, they asked, this actually happened last night, after the class, quite motivated, and I started, you know, reaching out, making my touches, and got a message really late last night, but she's now a psychotherapist, found out she now owns her own practice, which was great. And let her know that, oh, I'm a real estate agent. So, you know, if there's anything that you need or you know anyone, she's like, absolutely. So it worked. Exactly what you guys are saying, what you're teaching. So that's what I did.
Music to my ears. It's working. It's working. I mean, I think you said it right there. You have how do you to communicate it? You actually have to tell them. It has to be in the conversation. You have to ask for business. You have to let them know what you do. Like, it just has to be in the conversation that you're having. And it doesn't have to be like just up front. It just, a lot of times, kind of like what happened with you, Ellen, like it's just a natural part of the conversation. If you ask someone how they're doing, they're going to naturally ask back, well, how are you doing? Right? It's just, you can get it. You can get it into pretty much any conversation you have for the most part.
And ask the question, oh, what do you do for work?
Yep.
Right. And, you know, sometimes we get mad at our cousin, you know, that we haven't seen in years. They buy a house and they don't use us. However, if you ask the question, well, what does my cousin do for a living? So everybody that you meet, everybody that you know, everybody that's in your database, you should know what they do for a living if you expect people to know what you do for a living.
Yep, absolutely. It's a great question. Ask that question. You should know these things anyway. Ask that question.
I like to save people in my phone with like parentheses, like how I met them, like either by like buyer from, you know, Park Street open house, or friends like brother's friend. And I always leave, I still have tons in my phone where I have parentheses, so I remember, so it helps, but I think that's another way to help. So, while it's in your phone, and then you go back to your database and kind of make notes of it. But I don't really, and I haven't had like such a flood of clients where I just forget who's who, because it's always such or another. It's a personal, I either met them at an open house or they heard from me from, a family member. So I haven't been completely, like a cold call sort of thing just yet. So.
Yeah. Make those notes anyway. I'm going to say that anyway, just make them anyway, because there's always, it could always happen. Like something could slip, you could just forget something, just life gets in the way. And then if you suddenly get really, really busy, you might forget. So, which is what we hope happens. So make sure you make those notes no matter what. But I like that idea of having something. So like when their phone number pops up, you'd be like, oh, who's this person? Sarah from open house. Oh yeah, okay, great. So like it's certainly helpful for sure to have a little bit of heads up when someone calls you. Excellent.
I
Michael?
like that, Jean. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say I like that, Jean. I do the same thing. I mean, even like my kids, which kid it is, and their friends. I have one in there. Oh, Tiana's aunties.
Yeah.
I do that
Rhode Island, so
I do that with my kids, friends, moms. This is like Sarah, Caroline's mom. So I know who exactly we're talking about. That's good. Okay, so when is it best for me and my business to time block? When are you guys time blocking? Are you time blocking? Raise your hand if you're time blocking.
8 to 9, 8 to 12.
Okay, excellent. Good, some hand raised. And Flavia, good. Flavia, that's good. And your time blocking might be different than somebody else's because you're just what you're doing and what you have going on in your life, but there should be something time blocked from the generation for sure. And then the last one, how much time should it take to reach out to a lead? What will I do to hold myself accountable? What do I do to make sure this happens? Flavia, your hand's still up. Would you like to answer that?
Sure. I just make sure from like 9 to 12 in the morning, I just focus on, updating leads or sending out some emails. So 9 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ellen.
So how much time should it take to reach out to a lead? 5 seconds to a minute. Just really just depends, what you're doing, where am I in my contacts? Am I making a phone call? Am I sending messages? Do I have them set up? And what will I do to hold myself accountable? What I do with everything in my life, it's really, believe it or not, is schedule. I'm a spreadsheet person. So when it comes to what I do, mentally, I have it there. So I'm consistent in doing so. I make it a habit. I wrote that down. So I make it a habit. When I really want to do something, I make it a habit on something that I do on a daily basis or if it's certain days of the week. And then it says, what do I need to do to make sure this happens? I need the will. That's it.
Awesome. Melissa.
I'm off of mute this time. So besides being a solo agent, I'm also director of operations for a commercial and business broker. And so we both are trying to sync our calendars. He uses Trello and I use Google Calendar, and we use Outlook Calendar as well. But blocking the schedules, we're trying to sync our calendars up, but it's huge. He's been in the business since before I was born. So he definitely is very successful in using his time blocking. And one thing that I like that he does is every single morning, he has a contact list with a green highlight, and he will not move on to his next task or have lunch or complete the day until his green ones are checked off. And that can be following up, sending an email, sending a text, giving it to me so I can make the contact. And then every night before he leaves, he'll make a new list for the next day and highlight all of those greens so they're waiting for him in the office the next morning. So I think that's very powerful to show that somebody who's been in the business doing commercial and business brokerage or broker, that he has a time blocking system that he will not do or leave until his green check marks are done. And then he has a new list set up for the next day. So time blocking is very important. And some of it is really fast. It's just shooting off an email or following up with somebody. It's not a full blown, 1 hour conversation or a lunch or anything like that. So it doesn't take as much time as we probably are afraid it might.
Lead gen prep is so important. Is one of the things we talk about when you talk about like sitting down to lead gen, like to do like your time block, knowing who you're going to call ahead of time. Because if you don't have a list ready to go, then you're spending your lead gen time trying to figure out who you are going to call, which whether you do it beforehand or you have a system like Command that says like, hey, these are the people you're supposed to call today. Like these are, that just tells you need to, these are like, hey, these guys need a call. This is my fault. The smart plan's telling me to call them. Like I got to call all of these people today. But having your list ready ahead of your lead gen prep, super important. I love that. It's excellent.
And the other thing that I noticed too, and there's so many tools out there that are readily available. It's just picking one that works best for you. But his list consists of prospecting, leads, sales, and nurturing. So like he has these titles that kind of give you the purpose of what you're supposed to do with those people. And he may not have anybody on that list, but every day he's checking those lists to make sure he completes those tasks and then setting himself up the next day to make sure, because without the list, you're kind of just pushing paper around on the desk, wasting time.
Yeah, for like, and that's the like, yeah, it's the, if you're doing the DTD2, which is calling those 2 letters in your database, right? I got to call those people today. I got these people who came in as leads that I need to follow up with today. There are these people who were on my website, right? That have been doing stuff. So I should probably follow up with them today to see why they're looking at real estate, right? And those are different things you can actually pull from your database if you're using Command. And these people, it's their birthday, time to call them, all of these things, right? Having those lists, absolutely. Colleen, I saw did you have something to add?
I have a couple things.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I loved with, I'm not sure who shared it about like adding the notes right in the contact on your phone. The other thing that I just want to say is like when you go on a listing presentation, put that address in the person's phone. So anytime they call you, you know. And then once you secure that listing, put the lockbox number, if you use lockboxes, at the end of the person's name, because no matter what system you use, someone's going to call you. Oh, what's the lockbox? I forgot it. Or the seller, I locked myself out of the house, so that's a great hack. The other thing I don't know if anyone has heard of is the 15th protocol. So the 15th was yesterday. So if you set your goal for the month that you want to, go on 4 listing appointments or 4 buyer consultations, and it's the 15th of a month and you're not there, have a certain protocol that you're going to do. It might be a bold 100. It could be, a bold follow-up 100. So you're making sure that you're checking in on your goals. And if you're not to your halfway point by the 15th, you got to kick it up a year, right? And then I think it might be the one thing, I'm confusing the books, or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. A lot of times people have work time. Oh, well, I work in real estate from 9 to 5, and at 5 they go home, right? But if you work in event time, like I am not going home until I do all my lead generation or I do my lead follow-up. That can make such a huge difference in your business. Just stay in the extra time that it's going to take you to make sure that you are following up with everybody. If we continuously push it off, right, then we feel goofy for not following up, and then it gets harder to do the follow-up. That's it.
Excellent. All right. Excellent. So before we get into the next exercise, so in the next exercise, we're going to actually sit down and create a 19 touch. That's what we're going to do, is we're going to do that. I'm going to break you out into groups. Before we do that, I think now is an excellent time for a quick break. So what we're going to do before we get into this is we're going to do a 10-minute break. So 10 minutes from now is 10:27. So get up, walk around, use the restroom, grab a snack, and be ready for it to start this for the next when we come back. Is that good? Okay, so 10:27 is when we're going to start the next thing. All right, so everybody take a quick break. And go. Share real quick. And making sure I'm following my phone timer since my computer is like 2 minutes ahead of everybody else. Okay, we are back. At least most of us are back. I should have had one of those blaring alarms just play. That way, if anybody has the audio on, it just goes, they just come back from whatever room they're in. It'd be kind of funny. Okay. So let's get down to an exercise. We're gonna build our 19 touch so that you can leave here with one. Let's see. Let me share my screen again. Can you all see my screen? Excellent. All right, so for this, you are going to be using your participant guide, and I think the page, well, let's find it. It's not popping up. I'm not sure exactly what page it is. It's 10 something. It looks just like this. And you guys are going to
10.6.
10.6. Thank you, Ellen. It's not popping up for me right now. So we're going to look at this and we're going to write down what we need to do, right? So our 4, 12, 2, 1, right? So how we plan on doing our calls, what our spread is going to be for our newsletter and our emails, what our 2 promotional mails are going to be, and what one event can we do, right? So before we begin, Colleen, do you have something similar to a 19 touch plan or a touch plan that you have going on right now?
We have a lot of different plans. Like for the month of October, one of the things we're doing is like pumpkins. You know, we're asking anybody in our database that wants, you know, a pumpkin for Halloween. And we're doing it on a Saturday afternoon. We're inviting people to our house. You know, we're going to serve, you know, little snacks and everything. And then there's going to be pumpkins all over our front yard that they can pick any pumpkin they want. November is a great one for like pie giveaways and stuff like that, you know, for Thanksgiving that you can do right before Thanksgiving. So yeah, I mean, we have a lot of different activities that we do.
Yeah, and do you do like emails like every month or a newsletter or something along those lines?
Yes, we do the neighborhood reports basically for everybody, the quarterly calls, and it's really easy just to put people on that program.
Yeah.
And then we've never done like the sports team schedule. I've always liked that idea. We just never have, but birthdays are huge. Like we use Facebook for that. And then we put them on the birthday campaign. And on Facebook, you can see like who has birthdays coming up.
Yes.
And, you know, so, you know, just around birthdays, you know, you can call them on their birthday. You can send a card a week before. And if you're really creative, you know, you can do a cute video like just, hey, I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday, you know, and not only wishing you just a great day, but I'm wishing you, you know, all your dreams to come true this year. You know, so you don't even have to make it specific to them. You could just do one, you know, maybe get balloons and like do a fun one that you can, you know, use. Home anniversaries is another thing. It doesn't matter whether or not you were the ones that sold them the house, right? But everybody can look to see when their home anniversary date is. And that's a fun one also. And again, you can call them on their home anniversary. You can send them an email or a text, or, you know, do a video, or you can do all three or four.
Yep. Yeah, the birthday was actually, it's funny because I get on a lot of people's plans because I encourage them to do it, and they're like, yeah, let's show Maggie we're doing it. And so I get a lot of agent mail. And one of my agents here in the office, they're very good at it, is actually the Corey team. And they sent me a birthday card, and it was an email card, but they have something where they have like Dolly Parton like just sing you happy birthday, and they like have your name set over it, and it's so funny. I was like, oh my god, this is the best. So something silly like that is great. I've had people do things like send Christmas cards in July. I've had you know, interesting like, or Christmases here when they're sending kids back to school or things along those lines. I had someone like for a neighborhood event, I had somebody, they put a dumpster in their front yard, and they invite the entire neighborhood to dump stuff in the dumpster. And I asked her why I was not her neighbor, because that was an awesome idea.
That is awesome. That's a great
so
idea.
it's a great idea. So people who like were interested in things like spin, and they invite spin instructors to like the local YMCA and things like that, and they pay for that. So there's a bunch of different things that you guys can do. And those are all great ideas. So what I want you to do is I want you to pull out this thing, and I want you to build your 19 to connect, right? So I want you to write down ideas in each of these categories with the samples on the slide here, and we just gave you some. Consider any costs associated with whatever activity, right? Because there are some things that might have some costs, and there are some things like emails are free, right? A phone call is free. Those are all free. And then I want you to say how often you're going to do them. And so I want you to go ahead right now, and I want you to spend, we're going to do 5 to 10 minutes here. So I want you to raise your hand once you've finished. Please ask questions as you're doing it, but I want you guys to go out ahead and fill this out for yourself. So there's a blank one in your packets. Like I said, I'd love for it to pop up. Oh, here it is. I finally found it. I had to tuck down. There you go. Here's what the blank one looks like. So we're gonna take some time, and I want you to start that right now. And I want to hear what some of the things that you guys put in afterwards. So if you have questions during it, please just shout them out and be happy to answer them. So go ahead, let's start this.
Are we doing breakout rooms for this, Maggie?
Yeah, we should we do breakout rooms for this? What do you think? Should we mastermind for this? Would you guys rather mastermind with each other to do this? Or are you guys okay with just doing it here? No preferences.
I guess we'll do it here.
Do it here, okay?
So I guess if you think of something, just shout it out.
Yep.
So other people can
Yep.
borrow your idea.
So fill it in right now, and then I want you guys, afterwards, we're gonna come together. I want to see what you guys put in it. for your calls, your texts? Are you gonna use a system? Are you gonna set it up in command? Are you gonna use the DTD2? How are you gonna make sure you're gonna do all that? What's gonna be your spread for your 12? What are your 2 promotional things and what's your 1 events? Again. Couple more minutes to give you guys fill this out. Did you finish, Ellen? Or is, yeah, the hand raising. Good. Shows that a question. Let me give you guys one more minute. All right, awesome. You can always come back to this and fill this in. One of the reasons why we like to have you guys do this in class is that we want to make sure that you actually do this and that you actually create something. So many times we do these things and then like, oh yeah, I'll get to it, I'll do it, and then we just don't. And it's just, and it happens so often. So one of the reasons why we sit down and do this stuff in class is so that you guys get a leg up and a step in the right direction to actually enacting these plans that we go over, right? So I want you guys to, you know, I'm gonna ask you guys what you put down for some of this stuff, but when you guys are through with today, then I want you guys to actually put this stuff in action. Get your 19 touch ready. And whether that's have, you know, if you're using command, get your smart plans ready. Put your, you know, get your quarterly plan all typed in. Make sure that you have a smart plan that like reminds you or sending out emails on your behalf. Get that, you know, if you're doing a neighborhood nursery, getting that all set up. Getting the birthday smart plan set up so that you know when it's their birthday, those kinds of things. Getting all that stuff ready so that when you do get a contact, a lead, you can just throw them on the plans and just let it run for itself. So you've built this plan, now you've got to put it in your calendar. Make sure that you make yourself a marketing calendar. I always tell this for my people all the time. If you're like, yeah, I'm going to send out this, you know, this thing about Halloween and this thing about, you know, New Year's and this thing about, you know, have that stuff ready to go and put it in your calendar to do it, right? You have to time block for this stuff too. So you make sure that you create the calendar based on what you do here, okay? And you're going to do the same thing for your 36 touch at some point. So this is to get you started on the 19 touch. All right, so can someone give me an example of what they put in for their plan for the calls, texts, and conversations? What are you going to do?
One of the things I said was I'm going to check my notes and check social media, seeing what's going on before I make those calls. So we have something interesting to talk about or follow up on our last conversation. Then I would have this something that's preset in command. It is free 99.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Anybody else for their plan? For the calls and texts? I love
Ask
that.
them if how much they have in equity, or talk about how much they have in equity and how to do some new investments.
Excellent.
I'm in Massachusetts and the market is softening. It's, you know, it's slowly starting to do its change. And I know how the media is all over the place with, you know, it's a seller's market, but it, you know, it's changing, and maybe just being informative about that and try to really be direct of, you know, I think just being simple and direct with people, you know, that things are changing, you know, and remind them, that, just that's what's happening. You never know who wants to sell, so just throw it out there.
Education, absolutely education of the people that we speak to. This year's mega camp, for those who were able to attend, was all about perception and how we look at what the market is and how we need to help people sort of perceive the market as it was in relation to, what it's been in the past, and rates versus, yeah, we love the 2%, but at least it's not 16% or 18%, and actually 5 and 7 are actually sort of average in a way, and just having that perception. So being able to educate the people that we speak to is huge. Absolutely.
Yeah, and being as simple as possible, because it's like when you go to the doctors and they're explaining something, and sometimes doctors use their terminology, what they're trained in, and you can get lost in that. So just being direct and simple to the average person, I find is easier.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, for the 12, your annual occurrence, your activities for the email newsletter market reports, any examples of something that you guys have put down for yourself that might be unique?
I'll go. So as I was doing this, I was finding I already mentally knew and had made some notes, but as I was doing this, I was realizing that I have 2 different groups that I focus on. Because I do business consulting, I'm a SCORE volunteer, a mentor. I work with a lot of people in business planning and investments. So that would be a great opportunity for me to share what free SCORE workshops are coming up, and how that may, if they're looking for commercial property or if they're looking for investments, that's kind of an opportunity for me to pick up the phone and say, hey, I found something, a free resource or something happening in your community that is business or investment related that may be of interest to you. Can I send you the flyer or additional information? And then the other side is I'm finding that my kids are all grown and in their 20s, and we homeschooled for over 13 years as a single mom. So I have a lot of homeschooling families reaching out to me, asking me, how did you do it? So I'm finding I'm getting a lot of references or referrals rather from families and homeschooling families in particular. So I can reach out to them with family-friendly events, free resources for the kids, fun things to do for the summer. And then that gives me an opportunity to call and reach out to them and say, hey, how's homeschooling going? You guys need a bigger house for an extra classroom. You can use the basement for a classroom, things like that. It gives me a great opportunity. And then I realized that then segues into the 12 touches a year, where I could send them the not only the birthday cards, obviously, but like the informational videos or what's going on in their community, to kind of touch base and continue that relationship.
Awesome. I love that. It's, you might have a couple of different 19 touches, right? Or a couple different, like having that's why segmenting your database is so important. So who needs to go on which one. And I love that you have thought about that ahead of time, because you're meeting them where they're at. The useful information for who they are as people, instead of just sending them, blanket, everybody's getting the same thing. And sometimes you're going to have everybody's getting the same thing. That's going to be some of that, but
yeah,
but you're also meeting them where they're at, and you're also giving them useful information for them. And that is very personal, and that helps you build stronger relationships, which brings you better business. So I love that. That's excellent.
and I noticed that when I was using Command, you can put the tags in, and that's when I started realizing I was tagging these 2 specific groups.
Yes. Yep. Tag everybody. Tag them all.
The tags, the tags are very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else want to share anything unique that they thought of for their 12 touches here?
One of the things that I had written down was like money saving ideas, like how to set up an estate plan, like highlighting an attorney that you know that does estate planning, you know, because people don't realize, you know, if God forbid someone passes away, like how devastating it can be for a family if they don't have, you know, the proper deed, or, you know, what's going to happen, God forbid someone, you know, passes. And highlighting vendors, like if you know a really good carpet cleaner and they're willing to, you know, let all of your clients save 15% or something, you know, that's something that you could highlight and send out, like things that everybody needs, or window washer, right? You know, like it's been a long time since I've cleaned my outside of my windows, and, you know, it would be, I would love to know somebody that, you know, goes to people's houses and do that. So that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Speaking of which, Colleen, I needed an estate planner, so I'll hit you up later for that name. Excellent. Yes, I love that, especially the vendors. And we talk about this too, like, you know, if you have a good vendor or you don't know someone, go meet them, go local and go meet them, because that's going to bring you business for absolutely. So I love that. And then including that in your 12 touches, like having that sort of information as well. All right. Okay. Promotional direct mail items. Anybody have anything that they send or are thinking about sending for promotional or direct mail items?
I don't have anything. Like I said, I'm new, so I don't really have anything yet, but I've definitely come up with some ideas based on the season. I'm a big sports person. I like basketball, football, baseball. I like them all. So, I mean, it's football season. So months ago, we already started this, got the list with my picks. It was a party. I'm a VA caregiver as well. I know a lot of VA people. So they had this big old party. They all came in. So I was like, oh, this would have been a great opportunity to, you know, get that together. I'm on the email text. So we're in a group. You can easily add them all and send that out and have them participate. And some of these can be set up in Command. I'm not sure. I did see that someone put a template in. It was for a particular football team though. So I don't do the 49ers. I'm a Patriots fan. Belichick all the way.
So you can grab, if you like the bones of that smart plan, you can grab it and then just change it up so it's yours. Yeah. Change it up to change every invention of 49ers to Patriots. Change it up, change the colors. Okay. Anybody else?
I don't like you anymore.
Oh, you must be a Cowboys fan. Are you a Cowboys fan? You must be a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
Knew it. Always a hater.
My goodness, we've got rivalries coming up.
Win one. Win one. It hasn't been since what, the 80s? Like, come on, get it together. You already fired the coach. So
I should make sure when we do script practice later, Ellen and Roland are in the same room. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of things you could do for promotional items. Calendars, like schedules, you can send other things like cups, or like there's just a tons of different things. Different pop buys, like 'tis the season right now where there's a million different things that you can send for promotional items based on the holiday, right? So there's definitely there's a bunch of things. We're sort of in the, as I said before, Monday, I think, the pop buy season, because there's just so many like different holidays between Halloween and Thanksgiving and New Year's. Like there's just so much going on. All right. And then the last one, events. Did anybody write down an event they could possibly do?
Yeah, I offer everybody I know that if they want to throw some information that they want to shred, I go and pick them up and I shred it. My local realtors association, they offer once a year to grind everything out. So I reach out to everybody if they need to, you know, shred any documents. I will do it for them at no cost.
That's awesome. I like that. Anybody else have something you wrote down for events?
I wrote down a couple of things. I know quite a few people that party promote. So paint and sips, a friend of mine does a lot of those. So that would be a good one. You go in and to have the paint a house, if I can organize it that way where I can invite everyone in. Doing a first time home buyers event where I can invite someone in to maybe give them some background, let them talk, the Urban League. I'm in Connecticut, so we do have quite a bit of them here. I heard you guys talk about your like a NACA that you use. I haven't used NACA in like over 10 years, but here it's CHAPA first time to buy program where they're also offering the 25,000, 50,000 to have someone come out, because I don't see that advertised anywhere just because I'm an agent as to why I know about it. And what I found is a lot of people don't. So when they have those, do an event, might be more than once a year.
Yep. First home buyer seminars are actually were a good portion. I know a lot of agents who actually use those to make to grow their business. Get in a partnership with a good lender, and if the lender's good and you have a good relationship, they usually pay for it too. You can have them pay for the food, and you just need a location, and you're pretty good. So that brings.
I know a lot of lenders. I used to work for a couple of them, so
Yeah.
they are in my contact.
Excellent.
Right. And Keller Williams is coming out with a whole webinar you can do or an event with for first time home buyers. They just released the updated book, Your First Home.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so we can use that as leverage, like, oh, you got an accepted offer. The next step is the home inspection. Please read chapter 3, and there's going to be a whole PowerPoint. I saw Jean go.
Does that, so do you mean like Zoom? Like,
You can do it on Zoom. You can also do it in person, either one.
okay. So do you think, has anybody done the new world of Zoom with promotions?
Yes. In fact, not this mastermind, but the one before, they had a ton of people come on and talk about how they've been doing like these seminars and doing like the promotion, like just having promotions and giveaways, but they would also do like these first time home buyer seminars. They would just do them all over Zoom. So you can absolutely do them over Zoom. There is there you go.
What about a Facebook party now that I'm listening to what Jane was saying, you do it via Zoom, like I know someone, she does jewelry, she sells jewelry, she sells a ton of jewelry right on Facebook. So you could invite someone in, like from what you were saying, Colleen, from the lenders, and let them do a presentation. And you invite the people to come on in. It's easy for them. You don't really have to drive anywhere, but they get the information.
Yeah. Like, I'm a single parent and Zoom has been wonderful.
Very
Yeah.
helpful.
Doctor's appointments when we don't have to drive in and we could just do a check-in, and it really has been.
Yeah, so for something like that, they may not do food, but you might have the mortgage company maybe give you a giveaway or something that you can hand out to all the people that come. Roland, because I know you're big into investing. It doesn't have to be first time home buyer seminar. It could be an investment seminar, right? I don't see enough of those, honestly. Colleen, yeah.
Did anyone get Jay Abrams 20%er email today?
I did.
I think I sent it to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm on the mailing list.
Oh, okay. So I won't forward it anymore. But like, it was great tips for like buyers that have kind of been priced out of the market. Like, a different way to think about that is like getting roommates and really getting your roommates basically to pay your mortgage. And it just had some great ideas on. And then I'm going to call this a micro event, and you may have heard this, but every time you sell a house, right, and the family's been there for years, and they know the neighbors, I'd like to throw you a going away party. And so please let me know any neighbors that you're close with. If you have an email, a phone number, I'll provide the pizza and the salad, and it can be, Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4. And if you want to go beyond 4, go ahead, but I'm only going to be there. But you get more people that you can reach out to on behalf of your seller. Hey, I'm throwing them a going away party. I'm their realtor. I just wanted to call and invite you. And the same thing you can do on the buy side is, give me a list of all your friends and family members, and I want to throw you a housewarming party. And again, it's a great way to get more names, get emails, so you're going to be in contact with all these people regarding doing something nice for your client. And yet, do you think there's business out of both of those opportunities?
I do meet your neighbor party. And I do it on the street. Normally I pick up cul-de-sac and then we put the barbecue and things like that. And it's very inexpensive because a lot of times I have my lender pitch in on hot dogs and title company, or, actually one of my best one is my home insurance. They do a lot of advertising for me and things like that at free cost. So I use them quite often. Of course, I send them a lot of business too. But it's fun. I wear some really weird stuff.
You gotta stand out, Roland.
Oh man, I gotta see some photos of this.
Yeah.
I try to get the weirdest stuff I can find on, and normally when I go, it's the dollar store or whatever, those places where you go buy, used stuff and things like that. So I try to find the weirdest colors and hats and things like that, and I wear those.
Awesome. It's so powerful, and a lot of people do not do it. And you must be somewhere nice, Roland, because in New England, we can't always guarantee that we can do it outside, but we have a very short window.
Yeah.
That's why we pay the taxes that we pay.
I had a question regarding different populations and promoting.
Sure.
And I don't know if Keller Williams as a corporation is looking into it or even considering it. But like you said, traditionally, we don't have the traditional family. There's more single parents out there. There's more, I don't know what the correct word is to use. People that choose to have kids without a significant other. I've actually met people where single moms, friends would like to buy a home so their kids have a nice place to grow up together, like that sort, like this. They're probably have always been there, but they're, emerging more because people are feeling safe enough to come out and talk about it. Like, I just didn't know, like, for like ethics wise, because I know there's a lot of, you have to be careful on what you say. But like,
single moms is not a protected class. I mean, it goes across everybody, there's in every group of people.
Yeah.
So, if you wanted that to be your niche, like I know a woman who divorced. Her husband had an affair, they got divorced. So her whole thing is about like helping divorced mothers get into homes. And, like she's made that niche. She does like a monthly meeting. It's kind of like a mastermind of, women and how did they overcome like the depression and, all the things that happen through divorce. Well, you could do like, maybe a monthly or a quarterly meeting, like, what are the hacks to being a single mother? Like, how do you, keep the house clean? How do you work? How do you, keep up on your child's homework, like, and get people that are like really nailing, certain parts of being a mother.
Well, there's also, because I left education and I was starting to see this new, like, not, I guess maybe what's after millennials? Like, there's a new generation of, people
Gen Z.
kind of not interested, like not having kids, and like they're going to be coming out, and how do we approach them? Because instead of being like, oh, a typical sort of like, because they don't live their life that way, they're not looking to get married, they want to just be a professional and stuff like that. So I didn't know if there was
be where they are, TikTok, Snapchat, like some kids.
Well, they're all coming out of high school, like now, and it's like, and then some younger professionals that do, coming from like the cities and stuff that are choosing, and I just didn't know, because in Clinton, we have tons of 1-bedroom condos that are coming up for sale. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, just 1 bedroom, from the traditional. I just didn't know if that was a new market that is starting to kind of like, how do you promote, how do you encourage them more to be comfortable with, like, how do you get that population,
That's a home ownership class and a conversation about, savings and getting into like the safe bet for investments, which is housing.
Yeah.
And pushing that aspect, the tiny, like, I saw someone put generational housing in the thing. We're going to see a ton more of that. As people have these huge debts and, inflation goes up and people just can't afford you're going to see a lot more generational housing and a lot more in-laws and a lot more people doing sort of what Colleen said, that email about like, hey, I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to rent out all this stuff to my, my friends or family members, like, so I can pay the mortgage, right? You're going to see a lot more of that stuff. There's going to be tons of that. So I think it comes back to like, hey, do you have a dream of home ownership, no matter who you are? Like, let's explore those options. And
can I share something, Maggie?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, you may.
I just haven't seen much, so I was just wondering if anybody's starting to.
Well, then fill the gap.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. Yes.
So I got this actually from, this is from the US Census Bureau, but a lender gave this to me. But it's exactly what you're talking about. And this is why they say that even though the pace of the market is changing, we are not going to end up in a buyer's market like we were in 2010, right? Because if you look, right, we get people, that are 21 years old, right, that are that Generation Z. And some of them, if they don't go to college, they don't have big debts, if they were good savers and they're going to get a bunch of roommates, they could be today's buyers, and if feel free to grab a screen, or maybe your lender can provide this to you. But like the baby boomers, they used to be our largest generation. Well, one of the things that they've found about baby boomers is that they're not moving. A lot of people that are in this age group, right, they have more wealth than any other age group. However, they're working longer.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're all healthier.
Yeah, my dad.
Right? People are right? People are
Exactly.
living longer. So
Yeah.
usually we get a lot of transactions because these people are what? Downsizing,
Yes.
moving to different parts of the country. So, look at this kind of stuff. And I think,
I actually had a stay home where they were married forever and they just wanted to sell the house, and she went one way and he went down to Florida. It was just a complete lifestyle change because the kids grew up, and he wanted to live a certain lifestyle and she did. So, and they lived in that house for, like they raised their kids there. So, there's just different populations that I've actually come across. And it's just interesting to hear these kids say things, and it makes you think, you know, like, where is it going to be in 20 years with them?
Right. And if you develop, like, how do I find these people? What's the need of these people? Right.
There are groups and there are organizations that they, for example, I deal with a lot of, I cater to gay people, and I belong to an organization, although I'm not gay, but they gave me a lot of referrals in that trend. It's small apartments or small houses that they can, you know, make it their own. The trend is small homes, not necessarily condos, but like a small homes or tiny homes, what they call it.
Yeah.
There's in the area where I live, there's a lot of land. So a lot of them, they're just buying cheap land and putting a small home on it. And for about $30,000, they can live in it. So I'm sure in your areas, there's got to be some really cheap land that you can promote that. I mean, I just give you an idea where the trend is going right now with, you know, all these, you know, new businesses that are going on being more efficient, carbon, you know. So any of those organizations, you're going to find people that are into that. And
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, is because I haven't seen much of, you know, I guess like promoting or just kind of try to remind those people, you know what I mean? Because
So the Color of Real Estate that Julia Lachey Israel promotes, and then there's Unconscious Bias. They give some of that statistical data of, like, for example, people that are Latinos, like that's one of the largest population growth that is forecasted in the United States. Like, they're very focused in those communities on home ownership, right? So what do you need to do to get that business? Like, what organizations do you need to join in that
them,
kind of
reach
thing?
out to them, resources, be there, you
Be
know.
that missing link, right? Be that person who can provide that kind of information.
Can you put that thing up, if you have a second, or put it in here, that graph you just had?
Oh, yeah, can you put that in the chat? Melissa, what's your question?
I just wanted to take a
Unmute. So trying to kind of figure out who your demographic and your target market is, because you can't possibly know everything about every trend or demographic or age group or generation. So that kind of goes back to what I said earlier, is I'm noticing, sorry, my mom's dog is drinking so loudly. I don't know if you can hear him slurping in the background. But he's 16 years old, so we try to just kind of let him do his thing. I'm so sorry. But going back to what I found, my target demographic seems to be the business owners and the investors, and then also the families, the homeschooling families. What I'm finding is that a lot of them are interested in the ADUs and the multi-generational housing, so that they could house hack, or they can have renters, or they can, you know, have that additional income potential, or they are able to have mom or grandma come and move in to help take care of the kids. But, you know, the tiny housing movement, I've not yet stepped into that direction, because that's not where a lot of my clients are coming from, or my customers are asking me for. So I don't know much about the tiny housing movement, but it's there. I know it's very popular. I know, especially for single professionals or childless couples that are opting for a certain lifestyle, that's not my target demographic. So I guess my question to you guys is that if we do come across somebody who was referred to me, or is interested in me helping them with something that's not in my area of expertise, do I take the time, money, and energy to learn about it, or do I refer it to another agent who may specialize?
Well, I would refer it. The only reason why I thought of what I have been saying is because the abundance of new construction in the town I live in, and looking at what it is, it's a ridiculous amount of one bedrooms, you know, and I want to know, who are these people? Because I used to work at the elementary school, and I'm like, so they're obviously, you know, not wanting to have kids. I'm trying to figure out, because obviously the builders have enough confidence to be making as much as they are, you know, and, you know, I'm just keeping an eye on what I see in town, and it's traditional.
And that's great. And then, so like, to answer your question, Melissa, like, should I take it or not? I think depending on what it is, right? If it's, you know, if it's someone that's doing new construction, and you're not very well versed in new construction and how to do that kind of a thing, you should still absolutely take it. You have people in the office that could help you with those kinds of things. If it's maybe like, if you feel like you can service it with the right amount of backup or help, or maybe you bring like someone in on the transaction itself who might be able to help you, and you can give them, you know, split the commission or do something that seems very fair to sort of help them, right? There's absolutely ways where you can stay involved in that transaction and still provide the best sort of service for that person, I would say.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, that I butt in. I agree with Melissa. You have to know your demographics, and you have to know what your, you know, your clientele. In my area, the average home here, the cheap house here is $700,000.
Yeah,
but
same.
you know, it's just different, you know, different people. I mean, 700,000 here buys you a dump. In other places, you know, I was fortunate to travel with the Homemade Affordable, and I've been in places where 700,000 buys you a mansion. So it's just depending on what part of the country you are and what's your demographics. A lot of people here in California are going to a small housing because the cost of you know, HOA fees, and the cost of having a house. And we have a lot of tech people coming in from all over the states, and they don't have to live in the metropolitan areas. Normally, they try to go outside of the you know, out of the congested area, and now those people are just buying small houses. They don't have any kids. They're looking for something more affordable. And then we have, on the other spectrum, we have a lot of people that are moving their parents into their house. So we have a lot of houses that they have like they call it a guest house, or they call it you know, a master suite, or they have different. But you know, to my point was Melissa, you got to know your demographics, and concentrate on whatever you want to do.
I mean, yes, Colleen, you had something to say, and then we're going to continue because we got a little off field here. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, what I would recommend is decide what you're going to master, and then do it, you know, once a quarter, every month. But there's so many different things and so many different areas that you can provide so much value, and just keep doing it, and you'll get better. The word will spread, and then let's move on.
Okay, so let's get back a little bit here to where we were. So we created our 19 touch, and we are talking about our value proposition, right? So when we speak with our leads, we need to communicate our value proposition. We can use statistics for our own statistics. We can absolutely use our company statistics. I don't know if you've ever seen like a lore report or something that the that Keller Williams puts out, or sometimes your office will put out. That kind of information is great to add to your listing presentation. It helps communicate your value. You don't have to lean just on yourself, especially if you don't have any business right off the bat. I know you guys talked about it in lesson 6, right? Look beyond the who when you contact the lead. The most basic way to start doing this is to craft your message based on the source, right? We talked about this a little bit, knowing where they're coming from and changing your message based on where they're coming from. Once the door is open to two-way communication, you use your conversations to find their motivation for engaging in the business, right? We always go back to finding out the why. The motivation is so important to help make relationships, A, and B, to really move them in the directions they need to go, right? Because emotions make us act. And if we can really drill down into the reason why people are doing things, we can hit the emotional center and move them towards action, rather than just sitting on their hands. So we're just gonna kind of talk about this briefly. You know, when someone comes from certain locations, we're going to ask different questions to sort of get to that motivation. You know, for example, right, if someone is calling, we might ask, you know, these leads, why are they thinking about buying and selling? Why are you thinking about buying and selling? And then we ask you know, they might give us something, but then we'll say tell me more about that. Let's dig a little deeper. And what will that, and then when they tell us more about it, and we say, okay, what does that mean to you? What's that going to do to you? How does that make you feel, right? Going several questions deep onto the same thing to really get their motivation behind things. And there are different things that you might ask depending on where they're going and where they're coming from, so that you can have different discussions. Colleen, I know you're really big on the question thing. How important do you find questions to be?
Oh my God. Questions are really everything. You know, and we can get so much clarity. And if you're not clear on what someone is saying, you know, use these lines. Tell me more. Well, what does that mean to you? Help me understand. Because sometimes people don't know their why, and so like they might have like a series of little whys, like they want their children in a better school system, and they might be just focusing on one particular town. But say you know that there's other school systems that provide similar, like, oh well, have you considered, like, so the more you dig in, and people, like, especially at like open houses, and like sometimes like people that go to an open house, they might not be looking to buy until a year, 2 years, right? But they might be thinking about selling, right? So if we're not asking, like, oh, just out of curiosity, like, what made you come today? And then just be quiet.
That's the hard part.
What?
That's the hard part, the being quiet and listening.
Absolutely.
Asking the questions, ask the questions, because we will miss stuff if we don't ask more into it. And I think that's also, so you had mentioned like asking questions so you can recommend other things. I hear this all the time with buyers now, especially like buyers who are looking for something very, 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 very specific and just not finding it because it doesn't exist. If you know the reasons behind why they want certain things, well, then you can help steer them to something that answers the why for them, but might be in a different location. So asking questions several levels deep is super helpful to find motivations for them. We're gonna go right there. Okay. Ahas on this section, on the how to lead follow-up. What did you guys get out of this chapter? This section of it. And I hope it wasn't nothing.
One of the things I think I got out of it is being prepared, you know, having these questions, having this front of mind, just being prepared, knowing, and then being confident. I like the list. I like the 19 touches. It really just kind of keeps me kind of flow. And that's what I like. I work best and once I make my flow.
Awesome. Being prepared.
Communicate is key, even in relationships, as we talked about early with intention. Staying in communication. Don't let them forget you.
Absolutely. David.
I could see some potential danger to somebody like me where it could be overwhelming. There's so many cool things you could do, and 19, and I want to get it just right. And I could potentially take zero action. So I need to, sit down with my partner, the Lindsay White, and anyone else, like you would say, getting together ideas. Put something into place. Sure, plan it out for whatever, 30 minutes or an hour, but take action. So that's on me.
Yes, take action. You're so right. We can so easy to fall into what we call it analysis paralysis, right? This has to be perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. Like it's the enemy of progress. Perfect is the enemy of progress because we're always trying to get something perfect. And so we never do anything, right? Perfect comes with time. And there is nothing that ever is perfect anyway. So if just put something in place and just do it. Fail forward. We're all going to make mistakes. Fail forward. And just go ahead and start doing it. Absolutely.
Yes, and I've known real estate agents that send the same message like 4 different times a year. No one notices. No one says, why are you showing up? So like we put all of this energy into like trying to get it as right as possible. And, like I think someone said, like they grab a postcard and then they throw it out. Well, one, postcards are less expensive than mailing, and they're still seeing your face, right? In your company logo as they're throwing you in the trash, right? So even if you send the same postcard every other month for 6 months, and if somebody does call you, why do you keep sending this? Well, because you hadn't reached out to me yet. I'm glad I finally got your attention. Help me help you.
Yep. Melissa.
I think one of my big ahas when doing the 19 list was that I actually have 2 different segments that I am marketing to or would like to, and that they may have 2 different messages that I'm conveying. And so there may be some crossover where they're both the same message to both sides, but I think being able to personalize to my 2 different segments would probably make me stand out and be different because I'm customizing it to our mutual interests, and keeping a top of mind for them to see me as a resource depending on what it is we have in common.
Awesome. And David, you had some follow-up?
Yeah, just a follow-up. So here's a confession. I had my first it doesn't only happen to other people moment last night. A guy I was friends with, known him for 15 years, done some work with him, some church events, but haven't really kept close touch. Guess what? He and his wife happened to sell their $450,000 house, and they bought a new $300,000 to $350,000 house. And I haven't reached out to him in a couple of years. So so I need to commit to, hey, that happened. Let's move forward because it does happen to real people.
It does happen all the time. I hear those stories all the time.
David, you might, and that's probably something you'll remember and know not to do again. Or it'll probably be always kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna let that happen again. I'm not gonna let that happen again. It's almost, let's look at it as a good thing that it happened today or last night. And guess what? From that point on, it won't happen again.
It makes it more real. Now it hurts. Somebody else, it's just a story like, oh, that's sad for them. Now it's sad for me.
Now it stings. It stings.
So let's go.
Yep. All right. So now we're talking. So we've followed up with our lead. and we've gotten permission to follow up with their leads. So we've had that conversation and they're okay with us. They like us enough that we're
Right.
now communicating back and forth on a consistent basis. And this is where we are with our database, right? After we obtain permission to have that two-way conversation, then the lead becomes a contact in our database, right? They come into our database, we captured them, they are a lead, we now form that relationship and they're into our contacts, right? And then once we will move them out of that 19 touch, right? We've connected with them, we finally connected with them. Now they're in that 36 to convert, right? You've achieved that 19 to connect, right? And we might need to solidify that with some big, with that 1 to cement, which brings them then into the contacts. But we want to move them from here to here, here to here. Every person in your database needs to be on a touch campaign, some sort of touch campaign. And they're going to be different depending on where they are. If they're a lead, they're on a different one than a contacts one, right? Because now we're doing 2 different things. But no matter where they are, they're getting something from us. They are being touched by us on a consistent basis. So it doesn't happen. So David, that doesn't happen again. Where we've called them 2 years later and they've already sold their house, right? Those kinds of things. So we need to make sure that we're cementing that relationship. And we can do that with a high value touch. They have that 1 to cement we talked about. And they could be something that lets us know what that tells us them that our value, something of value from us, right? To cement that relationship, and in an event, something that would solidify that relationship, and opens up the door to future interactions, right? We're getting permission to not contact them just once, but multiple times. Okay. So we already kind of had the ahas here. Right. So we already sort of did the ahas. Anybody else want to add anything about what they learned in this chapter, in the entire chapter, not just about anything, but the entire chapter itself?
Maggie, we have a question in the chat.
Sure, go for it.
It's from Whitley. How long after you create the contact should you reach out to them again? Like you spoke to them yesterday and you place them on a smart plan. Should you reach out the week after?
Depends on the interaction. If we're just trying to, like, if it's someone I met on the street and it wasn't like a open house lead or something like that, I will talk to them and then I'll send them like a little note, like a handwritten note saying it was great to talk with them, right? And then that'll be my second touch, and then I'll call them a week later, and then I'll connect with them again a week later for at least 8 weeks. So like I said, that 8 to cement, like after 8 weeks, they know me. For if it's somebody who like comes in an open house or is looking, like maybe they came in as a Facebook lead, they were looking at a property or something along those lines, that's a much shorter connection time at the beginning, right? I'm probably contacting them in some different forms. First thing I'm doing is calling, then I'm emailing, then I'm texting, then I'm following up, usually in a very short order at that point. Because if someone's actually looking for a property, you don't have a lot of time to get that connection, Colleen, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was also going to just say, make sure you understand their timetable.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody says, oh, I'm not going to buy for a year, most likely that actually means 6 months for most people. So whatever they tell you, kind of cut it in half. So like Maggie said, you want to really cement that relationship. So, sometimes when somebody's like a year out, even 6 months, why don't I put you in touch with my lender? Or we'll first ask if they have a lender. If they don't have a lender, let me put you in touch. What is the #1 crime in today's world? It's identity theft.
Fraud, yeah, some sort of fraud.
Fraud. People don't even know. So why don't we have a lender look at your credit, look at your debt to income ratio, right? So I understand that you don't want to buy now. However, if we can put a plan in place, right, that's going to make you get a better interest rate 6 months or a year from now, wouldn't that be better than this scar on your credit history or this fraud on your credit report? You know, like to try to get them into the thinking like, oh, you don't have any money saved. Well, let me put you in touch with my lender and he can give you some tips on how to save money. So like, do high touches, those first 8 touches. Like, I understand that you don't want to sell now. However, you know, why don't we set up a meeting? I can come to your house. We'll walk through. It's not going to be a listing presentation. However, I can let you know what the market is right now and what buyers are looking for. You know, so if you have holes in your walls, if your, you know, teenager punched a hole in their door, like I can give you like just little things that you can start working on now. So when you are ready to get your house on the market, you've already put things in place to make you stand out as a great value as a seller. Make sense?
Thank you.
All right. Any other things, any questions or thoughts about what we learned about today?
Oh, quick thing, I feel like I'm taking a bunch of time.
Okay.
I know that both my wife and I like really want to connect with people and help people out, and yet I know that we both sort of feel like we don't want to come across as salesy. So I get it, you know, come from service and you're helping people, and you know, why not it be you to help somebody? But still, like, any suggestions that you have on the, hey, you're not being pushy if you do it with the right attitude.
Mhm.
Any quick like sentence or mindset thing that you could throw out there to us just to keep in mind?
Go ahead,
Yes.
Colleen, you first, go.
There's nothing wrong with salespeople. Salespeople make everything happen in this world. Just think about when you sell a house, you get work for the painter, maybe the flooring contract, the plumber, the electrician, the closing attorney, the lender. We provide excellent, excellent value. And I hear this all the time. So I would say, change the way you look at things, and the things that you look at change. These people are lucky to have you, Dave, and your wife, right? Because you actually do care, you're educated, and you're going to do a good job for them, right? And we are salespeople. You know, people are like, oh, I'm a consultant. You know, I don't like that word. And we really need to change our perception of salespeople. Like, you know, of course, none of us want to be like the slick car salesman that, you know, they take your keys and then they won't give them back to you. You know, when you're looking for a car, if anyone has had that happen to them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't let you out of the dealership, right? So if you're always coming from contribution, people are going to appreciate you, Dave. Right? And so if you come across salesy, that's okay. Like that woman that we're going to be listing our house in the next 30 days, like 20 years. And the other part of that story is I stopped following up. She hired another agent that totally screwed up the transaction. She had to go back to a cell phone, an old cell phone, and find me. Apparently she didn't know about Google. However, because I was always adding value, and I'm like, this woman's never going to move. And then we reconnected 2 years ago, and we've been in constant touch, and now she's ready to sell. So I would work on affirmations, like salespeople make the world go around. Nothing happens in this world without a sale. You don't eat, right? You don't eat if somebody doesn't sell you the food.
I could have said it better yourself. The mindset, it's all in the mindset, right? You want to help people, David. Like, you want to help people. You also want to make a living at the same time. There's no reason why you can't do both at the same time. And, you know, we say, like, one of the things they talk about, like the wealth and building the wealth, right? What are some of the reasons why we build wealth? For ourselves, but, you know, if we make enough money, right, how much of that can we give away to help others? right? It's not just because, we're not doing this just because, right? There's, change your mindset about why you're doing the things that you're doing, right? It's to help not only yourself, but to help others in a lot of different ways. So it's a mindset change. It's a mindset change for sure. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. It actually sparked, I heard somebody say something like, people are going to buy something anyway, and you can provide like the Walmart sort of transactional, sort of cheap, just in and out, get it done experience, or like the Nordstrom, like we're talking like 5-star, like they're going to buy something and it's really classy, it's done well.
Right. Are you, in which service do you want to be? Obviously want to be the Nordstrom, right? We want people to use us again, refer us, so we can help as many people as possible. Yeah, there are tons of agents out there who will deliver just not that there's anything wrong with Walmart in certain days, the Walmart service.
That's if you can find a salesperson.
Yeah, what, in Walmart? I had a very off topic, really quick. I had a weird Walmart story about that. Actually, I went in asking, I was looking for a sled. We live in New England with snow, and everybody knows what a sled is. And the person I asked looked at me like I had like 4 heads, like, what's a sled? And I'm like, am I in Bizarro world? This was in Walmart. It was the weirdest thing. That just made me think of that. So, okay. Yeah, so your daily success systems, right? We need to work on our 10 conversations, our 10 contacts added, our 10 handwritten notes, our social media engagement, and our enrichments, right? So those are the things we're working on. We're going to, once again, we're just right up against it. I am going to demo the script with Colleen for you guys to use today before we leave. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask this. I was the same thing I asked on Monday. I'm going to ask you to do it again if you could. So this is just like you asking for your clients for business. This is me asking you for your business. I would love for you guys to do a KW evaluation if you could, to let us know how you think we're doing. Specifically for myself, I'm going for my KW uter certification, and I need you guys to review me to do that. So they don't think I even do these things unless you do these evaluations. So if you could please take the time to scan the QR code and fill out the survey, I would greatly appreciate it. This is a regional event. This is Ignite number 10. When it asks for the instructor name, my name does not appear on the list, but if you go all the way to the bottom, it says the instructor's name is not on the drop down. Click on that and just type my name in. It's Maggie McDowell. I will put that in the chat too. Down there. Our co-instructor's name is Colleen Boyle-Jolie, and she's right here. Wave hi, Colleen. So you can add her as the co-host. And if you could do that for us, that would be great. I would greatly appreciate it.
All right, make sure you put those cameras up, get that QR code. You can do it later, but please do it.
I will throw it. Yes, I would really appreciate that.
Colleen, could you spell your last name for us? Type your info in the chat.
It's right. Oh, sure.
Yeah, you want to put in the chat, Colleen, just in case we go by it. I also put the link to the Survey Monkey in the chat as well. So in case your QR code does not work, that works as well. Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. All right, so we're going to do the script really quick here. Whoops. We're doing script for today is on C14, the care conversation. Let me pull up that script right now.
Thank you. God bless you.
You're welcome. Gonna scroll down. There are so many pages in the participant guide. I just want to point that out for any of you who did not notice that yet. Okay.
It's page 336 in the PDF.
Here we go. I've got it. I'm going to share the actual script itself. Can you see that, Colleen, since we're the ones demoing this today?
I can. Well,
Excellent. All right, Colleen, would you like to be the agent or the person who answers the phone?
I will be the agent.
All right, cool, excellent. And by the way, this is the care conversation, so you can use this script at any point in time. Go ahead, Colleen, you may start.
Great. Hi, Maggie. This is Colleen with Boston Southwest Market Center. And I was just thinking about you today, and I decided to reach out and see how you're doing.
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for calling. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Like, how's Izzy and your husband doing?
Oh, Izzy's great. She just started kindergarten.
Oh, yes, yes. That's awesome. And I also saw on social media that you got a new dog.
Well, he's not new, but he is my little velociraptor. His name is Dale, and he's a bundle of energy.
I bet. All right. And anything going on at work that you're excited about?
Nothing too exciting. I am teaching a couple of classes I'm very excited to do. It's one of my favorite things to do, so I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And if I remember correctly, you're working from home still. How's that going?
It's pretty good, though at some points it can be a bit tough because I feel a little claustrophobic in the same place all the time.
Absolutely. I feel that way sometimes at home, and forcing ourselves to get up and take a walk can be amazing. So you might want to try that, every hour, just get up, go outside, go for a little walk, come back in, take a 5-minute, break. They say that sitting's the new smoking.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Right. And by the way, we have so many buyers looking right now, and I was curious, when are you thinking about making a move?
I don't think we're looking at making a move anytime soon. I think we're pretty good where we are.
Okay. And I hear that, absolutely. Is there a price that you would move for?
It would have to be enough that I could use whatever's left over to buy someplace that's probably a little bigger.
Okay. All right. And would you like me to do an equity analysis and see where you're at? I mean, you just kind of said that you need something a little bit bigger. Would a larger house make life easier?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? I'd love to see how much equity is in my house and what we could use that for, if it would work in today's market.
Awesome. I'll get that to you in like the next 72 hours. And one other question before I let you go. Who do you know that has been thinking about moving now that I should talk to?
No one that I know about right at the moment.
All right. Well, if you do think of someone or you run across someone in the next 30 days, would you give me a call?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I appreciate that. And, just get permission to have me call them directly, because what I find is so many people are like, oh, I referred you. And those people never call me, Maggie. So we want to make sure they get in touch with me and I can get in touch with them, right? So they're in good hands rather than a realtor out there that, just started and they really don't understand the market. We wouldn't want that to happen to your friends and family, right?
No, I only want the best, which is why I choose you.
Awesome. Well, I so appreciate that. And, also I noticed I'm not sending you regular updates. I'm going to do that equity analysis for you. But is it okay if I send you a monthly email that just tells you what's going on in your neighborhood?
Sure. That sounds good.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. People really love it.
Great. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
Great. Excellent. What were your thoughts about that script, guys?
I thought it was pretty good. Seemed like you guys are just having a regular conversation. And oh yeah, by the way, how's this? And you just kind of really glided that in there. And even when she said, I think I'm good right now. And you were like, well, is there a number? Because for most people, there's a number. And yeah, that was really good. I like that. And then you went right into, well, if not you, and you gave a timeline. Is that something, you gave like a 30 days, like in the next 30 days, if you run across someone, would you do it? So it was a commitment. You got a commitment from Maggie that she was going to help you out. And I also like the part where it's get permission, just make sure it's okay. I can call because you want to make, no solicitors.
Yep. All that stuff. I mean, it's really good. And you said it too, like, it sounded like a conversation. We were just having a phone call. Like, it didn't seem salesy. It wasn't like, it just felt like a natural conversation. And David, I saw that too, like, right, there's a script here, right? And sometimes you got to come off the flow a little, like say something a little different. As long as the bones are there, as long as you're doing what it's like it says to do, right? Then we're okay, right? I always tell people, don't deviate too much from the scripts, because what ends up happening is you end up having a 30-minute phone call with somebody when it's supposed to be 10 minutes or 5 minutes, right? And then you lose all that lead gen time, which happens an awful lot. I see people just leave the script and then go somewhere else completely. And so just as long as you keep the bones there and just kind of have just good answers, and everything that she came back for any objection I had, it made sense. What you said, nothing she said did not make sense. So it just flowed right with the conversation.
Right, and have your scripts in front of you always. I don't care how long you've been in the business, because people will take you off the track. And if you have a script in front of you, you can just go right back. Or, sometimes as we age, it's happening to me. Like all of a sudden I'm like, but if I have a script in front of me, I can go exactly where I want to go.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a script in front of you and you're just winging it, that's the kind of results you're going to get.
Yeah, if you're winging it, you're gonna be in trouble. You're not gonna get what you went in for, and you're not gonna have a meaningful conversation, and you can get dragged into wasting a lot of your lead gen time, right? So I know that happens to a lot of people who do lead generation for the first couple of times. They just end up talking to like 2 people because they were on the phone call for forever. One of the things I always tell people who are talking with family is I would say, like, you start the phone call with, do you have a couple of minutes for a quick business phone call? We have set the expectation. We're not here to talk about Auntie Anne and her, her broken leg and whatever she's doing with that guy or anything like that. Like we're not talking about that. We are talking about business. And I've set that expectation up front that it's quick and about business, right? So just make sure that you stay on track. Cool. Okay. Any other questions? Stop my share here. Awesome. So yeah, I brought you guys all the way up to 12 again. They're gonna beat me down. I never give you guys a chance to practice. I apologize for that. So I want you to, when you hang up, like, call someone and do the script with them. Just do it. Just hang up and practice with somebody. You can practice or do it for real. Either one. So this is, like I said, C14 on your book. All right. If there's any questions.
But practice, I'll just say, read it over. Like, don't just call people and then reading it the first time. Like, practice it. Make these questions part of your natural dialogue. And sometimes you think, oh, I'm not getting this. But as you continue to practice, all of a sudden one day you're going to be talking and all these questions are just going to roll out of your mouth. And you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I noticed.
That's brilliant. Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, on the Ignite Facebook. So as you go through all the sessions, I'm trying to follow along with the class so I don't get ahead. I want to, each night after the class, I go in and I check them all off. I read and do everything.
I knew I liked you, Ellen.
And it said in there, read the first line out loud 5 times. And then, oh, as a matter of fact, I wrote it down. Read it out loud 5 times. So I have the steps as to way to do it. And then you do the second line, and then so on and so forth. And then you got to read it out loud, do it to the mirror, call someone, just say it out loud. Don't stop, just go. If you mess up, then you got to start over. And then you just keep doing it and keep doing it. And then eventually, yes, it does stick.
Awesome.
Yep, and that's how it works. The more you practice it, the better off you get at it, the more natural it feels, and it just becomes off it. So
And
thank you guys.
Thank you for everyone who shared, and those that didn't, we would love to hear from you next time or any of your classes. You guys are all doing great, and I appreciate your time and the effort that you put into being here, and go make it a great day and put into place what we did here today.
Yes, put into place what we did here today. And then a reminder, survey, please. Thank you. very much.
Survey.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Colleen,
guys.
Maggie, everyone. And is it Whitley? Yes. Okay. Thank you.